Hello everyone! Welcome back ulit sa channel. Meron tayo ulit na super special guest for our Kwentuhan for today. Publisher, writer, si Sir Jamie Bautista of Nautilus Comics. Yeah.
Hello. Hi, John. Thanks
Yes,
for having me.
Thank you ulit. Thank you, sir, for gracing our show. Medyo nare-request with some of yung with some of our viewers.
Oh, wow.
They're particularly asking about yung long-running mong series, which was yung Cast.
Yeah. Sa likod na, no?
Yeah. So before we go to sa Cast, let's start yung usual kong question with most of our creators. How did you get into comics?
It's really funny how I got into making comics. Siyempre ako, I'm sure like all of us, mga lifelong comic fan ako. Since nung bata pa ako, nagbabasa na ako ng mga Garfield, Archie, Marvel, all that. Of course, diehard Marvel fan ako. I used to read, Iron Man fan ako since 1992. So parang wala pang, di ba? Nung time na yun, X-Men ang uso, di ba?
Yeah.
Yung mga klase ko, bakit Iron Man yung ano mo? Wala namang may gusto kay
Actually,
Iron Man.
parang if I told my younger self na, magiging super sikat ni Iron Man, I wouldn't believe myself.
Diba? Kaya ngayon pili ko, vindicated na ako yun. Diba? Sabi ko sa inyo maging sikat si Iron Man. But yeah, so I've been a fan of comics for a long time. Actually, I really got into it in the 90s when I was in high school. And yung mga Marvel ko nung time na yun was Iron Man. Actually, yung favorite ko dati, si Dark Hawk. Si Dark Hawk.
Dark Hawk.
Talagang yung 90s talaga. So, and that would basically, connect me to all the different superhero titles, diba? And of course, back then, the way I was able to find all these titles was Comic Quest. So I go to Comic Quest, diba? So, that's when you got to discover all these things. And over the years, like from high school, college, sa Quest then, they would introduce me to some of the local stuff there, like I remember going to Mega Mall, tapos may naka-display doon mga pages ng Angel Ace dati. Harap yung kay Marco or ganyan.
And yung mga huge posters no.
Oo, di ba? May mga standees pa siya ganyan. Or of course yung One Night Purgatory ni Carl dati. Diba? And of course, yung back to yung mga myth class, di ba? And then in around that time in college ako, after I graduated, I started to read also indie stuff. And I particularly started reading Scott McCloud, yung Understanding Comics, diba? So I started to, it's deeper pala. And I started to discover there's more than just superheroes. And then I had one of my aunts, mga tita ko, she was a teacher in the ComDeps Ateneo. And she said, you're so into comics and you read all this. Why do you teach an elective sa Ateneo during the summer? Why don't you pitch one? So I pitched, I said, why not? So I pitched comics. But mine's Understanding, hindi ako nang gumagawa ng comics. Fan ako. I just, I like to study it. Para si Scott McCloud. So, na-approve yung class. So I taught this one class during the summer in 2002. Talking about understanding comics, so it's more than just superheroes, all those things. One of my students was this guy named Albert Orr. So si Albert was, and he was the student parang mas maraming alam niya kasi sa akin. He knows more about comics than I do at Pasqueria. So, after he finished the class, we became friends. I would teach in the English depth naman sa Ateneo. I'd see him in the campus. So we'd still hang out. Hindi na ako yung teacher niya, but we'd still hang out. And then he would challenge me once. He goes, Jamie, you were teaching comics. Gumawa ka nga ng comics. Yung sinabi na ako, magsulat ka nga ng comics. Ganyan. Sige, I'll help you. Ako mag-drawing. Ganyan. So, at the time, I said, why not? So, I said, that's when you graduate, let's publish, ganyan. So I asked one of my uncles. I said, I want to do comics publishing. Do you want to fund it? So I gave a proposal, ganyan. So I said, let's try doing it. So yung Albert was asking me, what do you want to do? Anong kwento na isusulat mo, diba? So sabi ko, ako mahilig ako sa mga slice of life. So sabi ko, I used to do theater in high school. So sabi ko, why not do this semi-autobiographical comic, yung Cast? It's about based on my time in high school. But sabi ko, I'm still learning how to do it. So sabi ko, maybe we not launch with that. Let's launch with something else. So sabi ni Albert, there are these guys na they're trying to publish something, pero wala silang mahanap na publishers, nahirapan sa printing. Okay, I can introduce you to them. So parang si Albert pa yung may connections pa sa local scene nung time na yun.
Yeah, I remember kasi Albert was like really active dun sa mga MLs and mga message boards.
Di ba? Ako kasi very, very introvert ako, very shy. Siya yung ma-network, ma-ano, di ba? So, and then, so, he introduced me to sila Dean Alfar, then, strangers kay Vince Bulan. Even though I go to Comic Quest and I meet Vinny there, parang I didn't really, talk to him the way we became closer friends afterwards. So that's when they said, oh, we have this project called Siglo. And, they said, it's all these creators and ganyan. Yeah, yun. Siglo Freedom. So that was my sort of introduction, my own introduction also. While I was so happy to publish it because we got to introduce a lot of people to many of these award-winning writers and creators. Like Arnold.
And this was before yung mga events. This was before the events.
2003 yun eh, 2003.
2003, 2004, yeah.
Yeah. So, yun. So parang I said, we have a printing press. So, that's why I got to meet Carl Vergara. Yes, Carl Vergara, si Arnold, Jerry, and then, so when we published that, and of course, the Dean submitted it for the National Book Award, so it won there. So at least that was a big feather in our cap when we started off with that. So then, but after that, while doing that, I started, writing my own comic, yung cast. So that's when we started looking around for artists. So we found, we got in touch with these guys called Ronin Core.
Yeah. Ground Zero. They did this book that called Ground Zero.
Yeah. It was, I have it in my collection to know. So,
diba? Yung ano lang naman doon, yung isang member lang naman doon was si Stephen Segovia.
Exactly. So parang si Albert, this is guy, si Stephen, why don't you meet him? So we met up with Stephen. So we said, we saw his art, it was amazing, diba? And we said, but we wanted we wanted manga style, diba? Sabi na, uso na manga style. Si Stephen, si style niya, diba? Parang he's that versatile.
Yeah. Which is actually maybe quite surprising for some of our newer viewers right now. Na Stephen Segovia used to do more manga style than what he's doing right now.
So it was Stephen, tapos he introduced us kay Ludwig Sacramento, who did colors naman. So, so they were our team. Si Albert, I made him, parang, you'll be an editor. Because even though he was my student before, I felt, you actually know more about, because he's actually made, he was actually making his own comics.
Yeah, he was doing a lot of comics then.
And he's a fantastic artist and writer also. So I said, you have to guide me. So humility naman. So we had this weird dynamic na, ako yung boss, pero ikaw rin yung boss. So this office, ako yung boss, ako yung publisher. Pero sa creative, ikaw yung boss, ikaw yung editor, ako writer, di ba? So this weird parang power balance sa amin na checks and balances. Tapos, so we started doing, we launched Cast, we had to learn a lot of things about how to distribute a national bookstore, or retailer cut pala, all these things, how to market. Funny pa, I think issue 3, one day sabi ni Stephen na, Jamie, makita tayo sa Rockwell in Makati. I'll give you yung art for scanning. So may papakilala ko. So he goes up and goes, Jamie, this is Harvey. So ito yung parang assistant ko siya, ito si Harvey Tolibao. So he said, actually, parang hindi ko na sinasabi, pero yung backgrounds ko si Harvey yung nag-drawing niyan. Tapos ilang pages, ganyan. So he was supposed to be at the time parang assistant artist daw ni Stephen. But when I look at the art, you could tell that there's some pages that lahat si Harvey yung gumawa. And even then, the detail. And I remember nung time na yon, there were times that Harvey would drop by my apartment, tapos Kwentuhan kami, and if you talk to Harvey, he's so passionate. Pag yung energy na ibang level talaga.
Kasi laging mataas yung level niya whenever you're talking.
So there, that, and from there we asked Nadine to do a second version of Siglo, which is Passion. So we said,
full color.
Full color naman, diba? So kami ni Albert, wow, how are we going to do that full color na, diba? Laki ng budget niyan, but whatever, it's go na rin yun. So yeah, that's how we started.
Well, we knew what happened with Siglo since it won awards, diba? Pero when you were doing sa Siglo, how was it since it was your first real comic book project? Ano yung mindset mo nun? How was yung like you said, you learned a lot of things from yung sa Siglo.
Sa first siglo, when they gave it to me, medyo tapos na yung mga stories eh. So, honestly, with the first siglo, my job was really more in the printing.
More printing.
It was the
Yeah,
business
kasi
side.
you had lots of veterans na, as in mga
Oo.
self-publishers din eh.
Ako ba, I'm not gonna tell Arnold Are or Carl Vergara what to do with their art. Or si Jerry. Di ba?
Yeah, actually, yun yung talagang reaction with most of those who follow the local scene. Parang, wow, as in, they managed to gather this amount of talent to do an anthology. And you did like a big book launch, if I remember correctly.
Right. So my uncle, si Choi Coangco, the brother of Tony Boy Coangco. So, at the time, he said, let's put money into it. So it's really, we had a launch in Glorieta, and then we had a second launch also in Green Hills, ganyan.
Yeah.
So,
fully booked in Green Hills, if I remember.
Oh, yeah. So, full out. And, the thing I was playing around with, so I said, you guys know about comics and the storytelling. So, ako naman printing, diba? So, the things I suggested was, let's use, instead of black ink, it's parang a tinted red kind of ink. I said, let's use a special color ink para it looks like, sabi nga ni Dean, parang it's like written in blood or something, diba? And then, si Nadine wanted a hardcover version. So I said, sige, we'll do a hardcover na parang mas exclusive, but then we'll find a special paper for that. In fact, that paper we got for the hardcover, this extra glossy na it was a pang last stock of this supplier namin. So that paper, wala na. You can't find that paper anymore. So, exclusive siya ng ganon.
So if anyone still owns yung hardcover ng Siglo, as in super rare na book.
Oh, yan talaga. But I remember na si Jerry in particular he was very impressed by the hardcover. Parang he was telling us na, wow, when I saw the hardcover, dun talaga siya na-feel, totoo pala siya, ganyan.
Yeah, as in, well, anything naman na hardcover is impressive eh. And I think I see yung impression niya talaga with that hardcover since he did that same treatment with some of his compilations.
Yeah, even over the years later nga, parang when Jerry would print with us, that was something na, it was really fun talking to Jerry about, these are the printing techniques you can do or the things we can try out. So in the beginning, that was my contribution in a way, the production side. But what I learned a lot was really the marketing and the selling side. These are the challenges we faced. Like, oh my gosh, to get an ISBN at the time was insane. That was the time na National Library said na comics don't get ISBN. So we nagsusulat pa kami ng letter to explain na, because they said, are you reference book or non-fic? So we had to write letters to defend why we should. In the US, they allow. Bakit kayo? Hindi. So we were rejected the first few
I think
times.
I remember quite a long thread about this with one of yung mga message boards ni Jerry. He wrote about this na yun nga, yung ating library which issues yung ISSN and ISBN do not really give yung ISBN and ISSN for comic books during that time. Kahit nga ngayon parang kailangan mo pa silang i-trick eh.
I know. It's a lot easier now. I remember the time nag-research pa kami ng president the US, they did. Bakit kayo? Hindi. And this law, international yan. So dapat susundan yung international law.
It's just for identifying a book, diba?
Diba? So I had to research. So when we finally got it, I had to research how to make a barcode, diba? So naghanap pa ako sa press namin and all that. And then, what do you call this? Yeah, of course, distribution, fighting with
distribution. Well, distribution and marketing is still parang big problems right now.
I know. It was, siyempre, at the time we thought na, si Vinny would tell us na, experience it sa Comic Quest, but it's a very different model for sa kanila. Diba?
It's very niche eh, diba?
It's very niche. Tsaka sa kanila, they comic shops are yung diamond distributor model sila na it's bought outright, diba? Huge discount, like 60% discount, pero bought outright, non-returnable, diba? So we discovered that, it's consignment, which means you can distribute all 2,000 and after 1 month, 1,900 babalik sa'yo, tapos sinasara pa yung cover, diba? So hindi pa pala sales yun, diba? So may gastos.
And they don't pay for spoilage.
They don't pay for spoilage, diba? So we had to invest, we have to put in plastic pala, kasi kung browsing copy, nasisira pala yun, so considered unsold pero sinira ng customers nila. Diba?
Yeah.
So, all those things we had to learn the hard way. With Cast in particular, we found out na big challenge namin was kasi serial kami. So we had to get ISSN. So yun kasi ISSN is for serial. Eh, sabi nila sa amin, di ba parang magazine yan? Magazine, after 30 days, they pull it out.
Yeah.
Tell them, hindi nag-expire yan. Hindi matuloy.
Yeah. I think that's yung problem. I think during that time, hindi alam ng retailers or anyone else na yung comics natin is essentially self-published lang siya. And hindi siya, they're still thinking yung old model natin at mga 100,000s of copies na mabilis nating pare-reproduce.
Yeah, exactly, di ba? So, kami pa naman, glossy, parang high-end kami, so they figured, siguro may ano yan. But even then, we were still medyo indie pa rin kami, and
I think yun nga yung problem, no? Kasi most of the self-publishers or yung smaller publishers that were producing high-end product, mataas kaagad yung tingin. As in, ano yan?
Siguro, di ba? So,
yung parang we could charge them yung premium. We could do yung the same thing that we do with yung high-end na mga magazines with advertising.
Exactly. Yun pa, I came from magazines. So I used to work in People Asia magazine, which I met my wife. So we knew like the business model there was, sabi namin, the business model there is advertising. It's not the sales.
It's not the sales, di ba?
The sales. Ano lang yung pambawi ng konti sa printing, but the money is in advertising, di ba? So, we try to use all the tricks we did there na, we learned sa magazine. The tricks I learned there was, there's, when you give your ad rates sponsors, you show them yung, it's not, you don't say copies printed. You say, ilang readers. Because readers...
yung reach, yung pass on readership.
Pass on reader, exactly. So, times 5 yan. Times 5 yan. Yan yung industry standard, times 5. So, kung 2,000 yung printer nyo, sabi nyo 10,000 yung readers nyo.
Yeah, 10,000 readers.
So, all these things. Of course, try to get advertisers, another thing, diba? So, the thing that ni Albert we discovered that worked a lot sa amin was school tours, going to schools.
Mm-hmm.
So you go to schools, we do workshops. So there's that say you can't outspend, you outteach. So we do it na lang via workshops and seminars, but just like you guys when you do sa Comic Con, diba? That's how you really build parang community, and I think that's really the best way to educate people about yung ano natin, yung medium natin.
Yeah. Since ang dami pa ring misconceptions about comics, especially modern comics natin. I mean, hindi nakakatulong actually yung mga media coverage kasi the media coverage would often defer to yung ating old school na newsstand comics, which doesn't really exist right now.
Nalala mo pa the time nung pabalik yung sina Carlos y Capaz, we're trying to bring back yung
yeah, it was quite interesting actually kasi I attended several of the Congress meetings sa may NCCA, and they had like non-comics people there, and I was wondering kung sino sila. And it turns out sila yung mga distribution connection sa mga newsstands, sa corner newsstands, sa mga palengke, and everything else. So they were trying to rebuild that whole distribution system.
Yeah, but yun na nga, parang I remember reading, parang seeing the copies of that, and then parang thinking, I think they don't realize na iba na rin yung business environment.
Yeah.
Because yung competition nila, before, comics were not anymore cheap entertainment kasi at the time, even when is that, 2010? 2007 ba yan? Or 2006?
It was before the 2010, if I remember yung Comics Congress na yan.
At this time ni GMA yun di ba? Because remember GMA someone parang was sponsored.
Kasi they were trying to railroad yung national artist something ni JC.
Yeah, right. Di ba? And parang I remember thinking at the time na parang, don't realize that for people na cheap entertainment is now MP3s or free, di ba? There's digital media.
And like, they would rather like spend yung 10-15 pesos nila sa load instead of buying actually a printed comic book.
Exactly.
And they were trying to sell it sa streets kasi I would often see like the Takatak boys or somebody else selling it. And no, I guess the drivers would rather buy yung tabloid than yung comics.
Yeah, so parang, we always felt na parang iba na yung the local industry really changed. Right?
Which was kind of sad because when it was starting, that caravan thing, it was actually a new phase. As in, new products were being developed, before CJC and company took over. Diba? I remember kasi kahit sina Sir Boboy was supposed to be part of it.
Yeah. So I wonder nga, parang it's always interesting with the different waves, no, in the industry. I think that the time of mga culture crash coming about, diba? That was a big thing. The dawn of events, diba? For me, that's something that was really, that's really key. The fact na realizing that it's a community now, diba? It's a community. It's not anymore. It's a bit, in a way, it was more niche in a way, diba? But at the same time, that's especially now, I think na we have the internet, we have access to all kinds of content now, diba? It's what's very key to different kinds of art forms. Can you find, it may not be about scale anymore, but it might really be about finding people who care about a particular art form or a particular genre or particular set of stories, diba? And you go deep na lang, diba?
And sometimes lang yan it's a matter of making them aware that it exists. Kasi we still get a lot of, like, when we go to different places, diba? Uy, may comics pa pala.
Yeah.
Diba? Like, may ganung reaction.
Oh. But it's been, diba, that was the time even with these two workshops back in there. What was that? 2005, 2004, diba? That was still, so imagine, 15 years later, that's still, up to now, that's still, I can believe that's still the...
Yeah, up to now. As in, up till now. Kahit saan ka magpunta. Kasi, I guess that's yung nawala kasi. Ang nawala is yung availability ng comics, yung steady availability niya anywhere in our country. Kasi 'di ba, before kahit saan ka pumunta makikita mo yung comics Pero I think majority kasi tayo nung ating mga publishers right now are focusing sa NCR. So nandito lang lahat ng comics. So we would have always that reaction na may comics pa pala. Kasi not everyone is selling sa retailers. As in, some are just selling sa events.
Yeah. Oh. But I think that's why, for me, I always felt na one of the reasons why I wanted to be like a publisher then. I really felt na yung community natin, we need more business people.
Actually, we really do. We really do.
People think of the business side. So I like what you guys do with Comic-Con. That's something I really appreciate. I really feel it's very important for our community. People, again, you need people who can connect other people, diba? Parang, ako, I'll admit na ako as a very introverted person, I like to publish, I make stories, and I just, look for audience. What you guys do is that you connect creators with each other, fans with each other, and those kinds of, those kinds of initiatives that's what's really important now, and I hope na, even though parang hirap ngayon, it's pandemic, wala tayong live events, but
hirap talaga ngayon.
I hope that, because digital allows us to connect somehow, that you guys will continue to do that na, like I like things like this, that you can find ways so creators to still get in touch with each other, fans connect with each other, di ba? Kayo pa rin nag-lead sa mga community natin So
this is more for yung mga ating creators actually. Kasi, di ba? I realized a long time ago that, like you said, yung analogy with the waves, yung parang isa-isa lang tayong humahampas di ba? If sabay-sabay tayo, di ba? Mas mapapansin tayo. Like, di ba? Like, we did the Culture Crash thing, halos mag-isa lang din kami nun. Tapos, kayo rin, di ba? Pero we never really had like one good push with everyone pitching in.
Yeah. I've always wondered, because the thing that I wonder sometimes is, if is it because parang yung community natin is pare-pareho yung mga genres din natin, di ba?
No, I think it's more of yung sinabi mo na you were introverted. Kasi most of us are exactly the same way. As in, ako rin naman as in, I don't really like talking to people in public.
I think that medium natin yan di ba? Kasi yung comics, it's not a medium you share, di ba? You read comics alone, di ba? I mean, it's social afterwards you talk about it, but it's not like a movie na sabay-sabay kayo, you can react together. You don't like read comic, magkatabi ko, next page, di ba? It's very...
You'd get annoyed actually if somebody...
It appeals talaga. By nature, I think most of our, yung komikero natin are really introverted by nature. That's why it appeals to us
And parang yung energy spent like for socializing for an event, as in nakaka-knock out ng mga tao after
I know.
So anyway, let's go back sa comics mo, sir, sa cast. Okay. So you did yung cast. You I forgot. I think you had a big launch then, as in with Siglo, you had a big launch for cast.
Yeah, also not as big, but we were doing a lot of bookstore launches then. Ganun. So yeah, again at the time, because I found someone to invest, so we were also trying to figure out how to do it, and they thought, okay, and I was basing it off, magazine style, diba? Like now that I run my own smaller publishing company, we're more pag small time. We don't do the big, diba? Because we realize, oh my gosh, mahal pala ng ganyan. Diba? And then the returns are, maganda siya sa press, pero sa returns, medyo ano.
Yeah, though yun nga, like I said, meron din siyang cons, kasi nga, if it makes you look big,
yeah,
you get yung also yung the way they treat yung mga big fishes.
Yeah, you don't get
sometimes it's detrimental for small publishers.
Oh, but sige, bigyan na kita kasi balitan yung ano nyo, di ba? Yeah, we didn't really have that, we always thought na, so we can charge them a lot, ganyan.
Yeah, yun nga, di ba? Parang, I think yun yung problem with, especially with Culture Crash. Yung Culture Crash had a premium product, and then he was being treated like a premium, a magazine actually. He needs para i-roll ulit yung funds, pero 6 months, di ba? He's being treated like a magazine na kaya nyo naman yan, may ads kayo
Yeah.
He was only like dependent on the sales.
Yeah, like parang here, because again, the whole comics, parang advertisers would be like, meron pa ba nagbabasa niyan, di ba? That's still, that's always been no matter what we try to do, it's still sales driven pa rin yung
sales driven. So how was yung initial reaction to cast? I know it has a very solid following now. Like I said, meron mga nagre-request because they want to find out when yung
I was very, up to now, I still get blown away by the reaction we got to it. I think the fact that we managed to really have wide distribution, really put effort into it, in bookstores and all that. It was colored at the time. Again, we were, kasabay namin with the Yon Zones, with Mango Jam, diba? Yung Culture Crash at the time, I think that's the time medyo nag-slow down yung Culture Crash
Yeah, 2004 it was the year that we closed.
Yeah. So that's when we came in naman. Because we came in 2003, 2004.
Yeah, like I said, yun nga, hindi tayo nagsabay-sabay. Pero diba, we could have done more damage if sabay-sabay tayo.
Yeah, I know, diba? So, but kami, we learned a lot from also what you guys were doing then, diba? But for me, because the reason I wanted to do comics was I loved yung mga slice of life, mga realistic comics. Diba? Those are the stuff that I like reading, the indie. So I felt na, everyone's already doing anime, manga style, everyone's doing power fantasy, superheroes, fantasy, sci-fi. So I said, so my niche will be, parang, it's parang romance, or it's comedy na drama but no powers or anything like that. All done about the real people, and up to now it still blows my mind. Once in a while I'll still get emails. It's been 15, almost 18 years later, I still get emails from people na, I just read cast and I still remember. Of course, kids who were in high school back then are now adults, but they're still I still remember all these things.
I know that feeling kasi you attend an event tapos somebody with like a newborn kid say, "Oy, idol kita." Kasi when I was reading your book when I was in elementary. Okay.
for me, one of my favorite, the thing that really warms my heart is si Doc E.K. Gonzalez. Who's now one of the very influential parang forces in our community.
Reviewer, yeah.
Reviews, and she also writes now, diba? I still remember she was one of our fans who wrote in, on print letters. So we published pa her letter saying, and she said, because we had a character also named Erica. So, yeah, so I was tungtuwa ako na while your character same name as me, iba lang yung spelling ng yung K or yung C, ganyan. To see that, she was telling us before that we were one of the first local comics that she'd read. And for me, the fact that up to now she's, so passionate about local comics and that we helped somehow bring her to the community. For me, that's one of the big, for me, malaking achievement na sa akin, as a writer, that even as kami yung bridge into the wider local scene, for me, that meant a lot. To see one of my other favorite reactions once was during one convention, I think it was a Toy Con, somebody came up to me and said, parang, alam mo si Lel, one of our characters. So, crush ko talaga siya. Parang, sana totoo siya? I was like, wow, nagka-crush na sa character. Kapag we have someone na nagka-crush sa character mo, I feel mo, okay, I guess, maganda yung pagka...
Actually, yung in terms with yung slice of life, I think that's the best kind of na audience, and it's the most loyal one.
Yeah.
If I remember correctly, when I was working sa Culture Crash, di ba? Yung common trope ng comics fan would be yung male na gamer or ganyan. Pero most of yung fans ng Culture Crash were young high school girls. Because they loved yung romance thing that's going on with yung high school hijinks title ng Culture Crash, which was One Day Sandiwa. So they actually prefer yung title na yun to any of yung mga action, adventure, big robots, fantasy stuff. They prefer that. So, and parang dun lang ako nakita ng sobrang loyal na readership. Kasi sabi nga nila, di ba, parang yung female readership, pag nakuha mo yun, sila yung mas loyal na fan base. Yung sinasabi mo kanina na pass on leadership, yun yung usual na mga fanboys. Yung sa group nila, one would buy. Only one of them would buy. Most of them will just read it. Pero they're fans. We're fans. We read your work. So, do you buy it? No, I just read yung copy ng friend namin. Siya yung bumibili nun eh.
Siya yung sponsor ng group. Siya yung sponsor.
Di ba? Pero with girls, since all of them have their own copies, and if you release like merchandise with a specific character, and yung character na yun yung bias nila or yun yung favorite nila, they would buy it.
That's why I think that in the US, the book market is when you research it, it's more female who reads fiction really, and even now I think when you look at the proliferation of what's on webtoons now, I taught a comic collective last semester in Ateneo again, and then asking my students, so what do you read comics? And most of the students, they say, yes, we do, but it's webtoons, it's online. And if you go through it, and a lot of it, well, there's still, of course, mga sci-fi and all that. But even I look at Pen Lab, I like to look at the new stuff. It's to see a lot of slice of life stuff there. It does so well. For me, parang I'm very happy. It is. That those genres are starting to proliferate. And I think,
especially now, yung late ng 2010s, 2015 onwards, bigla nagkaroon ng bloom of new creators na they don't really do much of yung supernatural, yung action or fantastical na stories. They would often, while it would have yung elements of that, fantasy and stuff, pero they would draw from their experiences when they were like high school or when they were studying or mga summer vacations, di ba? And it's things that you could relate with. You relate to talaga kaagad. And I think yung setting pa, di ba? Yung setting is sobrang Filipino.
Exactly. I see the way they make the settings, it's better than anything I could have written back then. Parang mas magaling sila gumawa ng authentic feeling na Pinoy setting na story. And when I look at, yeah, again, when I look at, I think maybe because many of the younger readers sa digital sa nagbabasa, di ba? And it's a lot easier to do. Yung time kasi natin sanay tayo sa serial, long form, di ba? And epic stories, di ba? But many of the younger readers, I have a feeling na, like now, I read a lot of web comics also, local and foreign. And these are, parang yun, it comes out in chunks. Either it's strip form, but daily, di ba? And, or it's just a one-off parang strip comic, di ba? It's nice that parang they're able to express their ideas quickly, more regularly. The one thing I always felt yung difficulty namin even with cast and all the series I've done afterwards, Private Iris, I just realized now, I thought about, I've never written a graphic novel. I've always done series.
Yeah. Actually, that was one of my questions. Kasi, like you said, puro long form na serials yung ginagawa niyo. So, maybe yung closest would be yung short story mo with yung sa Siglo.
Yeah,
Passion.
Right. But yeah, one off. I mean, I've done short, may closure na short story, diba? And even sa cast, we try to do, like Albert would challenge us to do like 4 pagers at the end with those short stories. Like incidentally, that was the first story I ever worked with Arnold Arion, one of those short 4 pagers. But I was a victim of that whole when you're a young comic creator. Oh, I have this epic kwento na 300 pages, like story Bible, ganyan, di ba? It's hard to parang get to that and then you guys, hirap pala, di ba? Parang,
okay, it's something na being taught today na, hindi, huwag niyong gagawin na.
Okay. 8-pager muna or
8-pager, 4-pager, you start with that.
I tell people na parang, just wag masyadong ambisyoso. Medyo realistic muna, di ba? I'd rather do, if you train yourself, even me, I'm trying to train myself now. Can you do like a 4-panel comic, a 1-page comic, but release it more regularly? Like we were doing, okay, we want to do a series for 30 pages, but we come out bi-monthly, di ba? It was hard to do. Bi-monthly was still hard for us, di ba? For everybody.
Pero, but you were one of yung mga serials that came out regularly.
Yeah.
Something that we are so guilty of not doing.
I know. And that, for me, that is honestly why I think, nahihirapan tayo sa digital because in digital comics, the key is really more regularity.
Regularity.
There's ang bilis mo mawala sa top of mind ng mga tao if you just for a week, di ba?
And since also, hindi lang ikaw yung gumagawa, marami. You vanish for like a week or 2 or 3, you're forgotten.
Right. That's why it was. I was lucky, I guess, with cast because we had. It was in a way like a big graphic novel I haven't finished lang. So that there was, I had an idea on what to do. I had a story by, but I plotted out issues 1. At the time, it was supposed to be 18. So I just trimmed off lang some sections of it to get it to where it was. But yeah, the discipline again of trying to really, do it, write the script right away, figure out the production was in a Stephen, it's in a Harvey, Ludwig, and myself also, I started to learn things like in the production side. So I was doing the lettering. So, kasi as a graphic designer naman ako, I knew how to use InDesign, PageMaker. And Albert used to tell me, you'd better letter your own stuff para makita mo na gaano kadaldal yung mga characters mo. So you can edit on the page. At least, I better make my language more concise. But yeah, it was a struggle to come up with stuff. When I was doing my other series in Private Iris, that was harder because unlike cast, at least it's like a long form. So even though we try to make it episodic, there's an arc per issue naman. There's a beginning, end, something gets resolved. Diba? There's a B plot na medyo part of the longer story, but there's something that resolves in that issue. Sa Iris naman was harder because it was a mystery. So every issue, I had to craft a whole mystery.
Yeah.
Clues.
And parang people don't realize, mahirap mag-craft ng mysteries.
It's hard. I had to really research from scratch how to study to do mysteries, ganyan. So, but yeah, I mean, as a writer, parang it's strange for me at the time with cast that some of my artists were actually faster at drawing than I was at writing. Even though supposedly it's supposed to be faster, but it's kind of a challenge. So I know a lot of guys like you guys as a culture crash, so it's anthology because it helps also come up more regularly. At least you only have to do per story
15 pages,
15 pages per, diba? But it's hard because again, for all, it's not our day job, diba? So it's not something we can devote our full time to.
Okay, so when you were doing cast, you were doing something else. As in,
Yeah,
you had a day job.
yeah, I still had a day job also. But this was like a side. Even honestly now, even now with Chamber Shell is not my main business. You know, I have a graphic design studio, you know, and you know, so and at least part time, diba? So Chamber Shell is just our Nautilus Comics now. It's a business that you know it runs on its own. But ganun din, it's still not enough to be even sa amin. It's not enough to be our main source of income pa rin, diba? That's still the sad reality of it.
This is kind of interesting because I had this same conversation with Ace. If you're familiar with Ace Pitangkol of Studio, and I only learned yesterday kasi yung specific na anecdote niya about yung they were asked in making comics, was it more important to have passion or money? And he said that he was the only one who answered na money. Tapos it turns out, so I need to get yung context kung bakit yun yung sinagot niya. Tapos I asked the question na, were you guys only depending on the books as your source of livelihood? And he answered yes. And I was surprised.
Yeah.
Di ba? Kasi,
but
so Ace and Studio kind of proves that you could make money off yung works, no? Without having yung a day job.
Yeah. But sina Ace, I remember because when because we were the ones printing their books at our printing press.
Yeah,
we work with Ace a lot, diba? And I have full respect for him na nga because the amount of he's someone I think more than me. I'm also very risk averse. So, you know, he used to ask me before, how do you distribute? So I helped him, you know, tips. This is where, you know, I shared some of the stuff we learned from before. But he really took it to a different level. Na talagang, he's, in terms of how prolific, diba? Like, I was having a hard time doing bi-monthly. He would come out with these, diba, 100-page books and on a regular basis, you know. So, in terms of the consistency and all that, again, that does take a lot of funding, diba, to do. I mean, to release that kind of book on a regular, you need a lot of, diba? So, they took up we'll really put, you know,
they took up the challenge that you could actually profit from this kind of business. And I was pleasantly surprised that they were already on the fourth print of yung isang book nila.
Yeah, with mga Loves in the Bag or yung,
diba?
And with Ace also the way they would diversify, you know, again, like a real publisher, he would try, they have prose books, they try to publishing, diba? And they do commission comics then, which we do also, diba? Something to do a project for this other one, which would help fund. So, you know, I think just like with anyone, it's also it's part of when you start a business, diba? Parang it is a risk, of course.
Yeah,
and many of us parang we wonder parang, how much of a risk are we willing to take, diba? To do it, diba? I think what he did was very smart na you know, he knew parang what kind of audience we want, and you know, this is the kind of
but that was so scary, di ba? Parang
it is scary talaga.
As in it's not like most of other creators, me personally included, na we were put in a position of privilege that whether my book sells or not, I don't really care. I just want to put out yung story. Pero si Ace, parang bet everything on it na diba? It's kind of crazy to think na may gagawa nung ganun. Pero, and at the same time, he's really passionate about yung comics niya. It's not just like they're making comics na parang formulaic na alam niyang bibenta. It's what he wants to do.
Exactly. I think it's a nice mix. I think it's great he said asking about it is money that drives you because you know if you're an entrepreneur, diba, like that, we're also entrepreneurs to some level, diba? But when parang lahat nakasalalay dyan, diba, you're forced to really
you're forced to like think of how to sell.
Right.
And tighten mo yung belt mo na hindi ka magiging
and you know there are things na like honestly like sa amin with Chamber Shell, for example, one reason why I don't mind that it's not our main source of income, even though it is profitable, it does bring in money. It's just not, a huge amount of money, but enough money. Like I give Arnold, enough in royalties every year, diba? I manage to have staff, have an office, all that. But at the same time, parang for me, with Arnold especially, he's the type of artist na I really want a book this way, parang whether it will sell or not, I want to be this way. And one thing I always wanted to do was, no, I want to be able to, yes, to say I can, sige, we'll publish it that way, and ako nang bahala to figure out how to sell it, diba? And if it doesn't sell, okay, I'll keep the business lean, so I won't have to force you, diba? There's some people
that's yung kind of what's nice with having a publisher.
Yeah, diba?
That would be your headache. Because most of the other creators parang they do everything, so parang sobrang daunting talaga ng task. Like especially with yung kwentuhan na to, na ma-magnify yung mga kailangan nilang gawin. Diba? Kailangan nilang maging marketing person, kailangan nilang maging salesperson, kailangan na rin sila din gumawa ng mga blue-collar jobs like yung pag-transport ng books.
Yeah, I've done that. I hiningi lahat ng mga lumang maleta ng mga ko. Hiningi ako yung nagdadala ng mga Taxo National, to the service entrance or sa mall entrance.
And di ba, mag-deliver ka sa MIBF.
Oo, di ba? Yeah. But I think na sometimes I think for a lot of us na it is a risk like to put to put it all on the line talaga, diba, to get it out there. With Sina Ace, I think it's lucky na I think he was very smart how he did it also. Na you get to figure out also like and how much funding will you need, diba, to do it, diba? So
and he also did what you did. He targeted schools.
Oo, di ba? Because when they first started, may website pa sila, they had trailers, animation, di ba? And then, and the way he marketed, and by having a readership na, and again, that's one of my faults then. I think that's where Ace also, for me, it's a lot better than me in that the consistency. That's why I feel like it's really consistency. The fact that as thick as his books are, he would come out with it, on a regular basis. So his fans were really, di ba? We're able to maintain it, diba? Ako, honestly, I would say na some of the difficulties we had in making it, for me to make it a regular, my main thing, it's a chicken of the egg. You tell yourself na I'll be able to do it full time if it's my main source of income. But then maybe it's the other way around na it'll be my main source of income if you take the risk and, diba?
Yeah.
Invest in it. Diba? So, ang hirap, it's hard to, and that's why they say people like me, I'm already in my 40s. I have kids. It's hard to make that kind of risk.
Yeah, this also comes up always na parang yung comics is a young man's game. Kasi parang right now, if I would like bet everything on it sa age ko ngayon, parang parang nakakatakot, no?
Well, for me, it's not. Parang I like the thing naman na parang it's not about the money. It doesn't have. I teach a class in Ateneo called the Creative Profession. I teach fine art students about the business side and all that. And I tell a lot of them na parang sometimes having your passion be your job. It's not always the best thing because like honestly, John, the last I haven't like. I remember in 2018, I was thinking I wrote Carl Vergara asked me to write he challenged me to join Virgin Lab Fest for theater. It's the first time I wrote a script for theater. And when I did that, it was really energized. And then I realized, oh my gosh, 2018, I have not written a comic script in years. Like 5 years hindi ako gumawa ng comics. Even though I was actively publishing for Arnold and comics was my job. It was one of my jobs. But parang I realized na parang nawala there was a time nawala even when we first stopped cast, parang nawala yung drive because it became like a job, diba? And with cast, especially trying to, we had staff, giving the sales reports, and then how do we market it, ganyan, distribution, hirap ng ganito. You kind of lose the fun of it in a way. Not many people are able to balance it. Even myself, I felt I was not always able to balance that very well. And it sometimes takes a while to just parang to recharge and reset or realize that parang, maybe, can it just sustain itself for the sake that at least it's out there, diba? It doesn't have to have the pressure of it has to also support me. There's sometimes a bit of freedom in that. So like now, I still get to, I'm starting to try to write new comics again, all that, but without the pressure, it has to sell, diba? Parang if it sells, okay siya, di ba? But if not,
Oh, so you have new projects in the
sort of,
line.
yeah, we're some things we're trying to that may come out soon. So I'm trying, yeah, I'm trying to get it back. I can't talk about it yet, but yeah, I've been the last year or two, especially with the pandemic, ganyan,
Yeah.
parang you feel that you have to do something. There was something.
That's one good thing about this pandemic. Because since I've been talking to a lot of creators, as in, they have something down the line. They're doing something during this pandemic. So when this pandemic lifts, I'm sure we'll have like a boatload of new books.
I know, I'm so excited.
So it's exciting. So I hope it ends soon.
I know. Oh wow. But even I think even with that, na parang all the challenges we're facing with this pandemic of parang how do we get comments? How do we connect with the fans? For me, it's a very interesting opportunity also. For me, we've always been struggling with like what do we do with this digital thing, diba? With digital comics. Parang it's how do we make money out of it? How do we monetize it? How do we and it hardens me to see there are some people who are like the explosion of platforms that came out last year, diba?
Yeah. And it's still exploding. So there's still new platforms being born like every month or every.
Never even the title nung sa cons, it always be someone who has a new app and then they're trying to pitch it there sa Comic Con.
Oh yeah, since the dawn of Comic Con, first Comic Con pa lang may app na for yung analog na phone, di pa smartphone.
Oh yeah. I mean, the cast we were courted before. Like I've submitted to so many different e-reader platforms. Like we had this one called Pullbox back in the day, and then we were part of one of Vibal also. And but I mean, there's so many different. There's one from Japan and well, they probably do this and all that, but it's very interesting to see parang everyone trying to figure it out, diba? In the end, I still don't know what the answer is, I guess, diba? But have you seen by anyone who does really well sa digital ngayon? Parang they are able to make that there.
The webtoon guys, the webtoon persons. Because webtoon has like a proper monetization system.
Yeah.
So I know a lot of local creators, younger creators, who figured that out. Since that's where they started. So since that's where they started, they know yung nooks and cranny. Pero for us old guys, it's kind of hard because you have to unlearn some stuff.
Yeah.
And you have to learn new stuff.
Yeah, because it's like webtoons. Oh, the panel is now vertical na.
Yeah. It's something then, di ba, that Scott McCloud touched upon when he wrote yung Reinventing Comics.
Exactly, di ba? His pang was that, di ba? He was the pioneer of the 6-foot comic, or use flash pa gamit yung dati na you can choose your own directions.
Though wala nang flash ngayon.
wala nang flash, di ba? So, sabi ko, parang he imagined that, you can do like a panel, inside a panel, we go parang in the Z-axis.
Yeah, yung sa kanya is yung webtoon was horizontal scrolling.
Yeah, di ba? So, yeah. Speaking of reinventing comics, it blows my mind. Parang, wow, a lot of the things you say back then, microtransactions.
Yeah.
Nangyayari na ngayon. Like,
diba, when I read yung Reinventing Comics back then, parang it was parang so abstract, sobrang vague na concept. Tapos ngayon, you see it now being applied. Oh, yun pala yun.
But yung hindi lang niya nakita was yung patronage system.
Hindi niya na pero that's one way of most of the younger creators are earning. As in, they have like Patreons, they have like aside from the webtoons. Kasi diba there's a monetization system sa webtoons. That webtoons mismo yung magbabayad sa'yo.
Yeah.
If you have enough eyeballs on your comics, or if ma-serialize mismo ni webtoons yung comics mo.
Yeah. That's why, and the whole idea of patronage is that, can you find what's, kay Seth Godin, who's in marketing, your minimum viable audience mo, diba? Na, there's that concept of yung 1,000 true fans. Have you heard of that concept, 1,000 true fans?
Enlighten me.
So the idea of 1,000 true fans is that in at least the US concept na for a single artist, you can now survive if you have 1,000 true fans. What is a true fan? A true fan is somebody who's willing to pay $100 to patronize your art. So whether if you're a musician, they'll buy all your CDs, they'll go to your concerts, buy your merch, your shirts, and ganyan. So $100 throughout the year. Diba? So correct, sa atin, if you're a comic creator, this is someone who will pay roughly 5,000 pesos on all your posters, your merch, they'll support your Patreon, they'll buy your trade paperback.
And you could survive on 1,000 fans alone.
Because what's 1,000 fans? That's 5,000 pesos times $100 times 1,000. It's $100,000 per year. How much is that in peso? That's 100,000.
48.
5 million. Tama ba?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, 5 million.
Yeah, around the same. Yeah, you could survive for like 2 years.
Diba? In the US, that's their parang living wage daw yan for one artist. Sa atin, 5 million a year is not bad, diba?
It's too much. It's actually too much. Which is why which is why a lot of artists here can actually charge less than yung mga artists sa US.
Exactly, diba? But the idea is that to get a true fan, I mean, someone who just buys one copy, that's not a true fan. The idea is that they have to spend, they care about
the willing yon, yung willing to buy anything that you put out.
Kasi hardcore talaga sila, di ba? So when you think about it that way, na parang, oh my gosh, 1,000 lang. Parang yung print run natin, 2,000, 3,000, that's double the di ba? But of course, they aren't all true fans. Some are just, I bought a copy of the book, di ba? They're not, it's like, can you have 1,000 Danries? It's basically diba?
If you have 1,000 Danries, set ka na.
But to get a true fan, it funnels down. Diba? To get 1,000, you have to probably expose your work to 10,000, 100,000. So that's the idea is that, so in digital, people do webtoons. Yeah, their views are, you get 10,000 views, 1,000 views. But of those 10,000, yung conversion mo is maybe at best 10, but most realistically 1 to 2% would be true fans. That's why, so they say digital, you take the risk. So I think just like what Ace did, he took the risk in terms of financial, we put down capital, put in work, invest time, diba? For many young artists who do some webtoons, digital, they invest the parang pawis capital, they invest the time, diba? To sige, just build an audience. Maski wala pang kinikita for 1 or 2 years. When I used to research web comics, they tell you na web comics, well, you won't make money for 2-3 years. So can you keep doing it? But build the audience. Then the moment you have a certain scale, that's when you monetize. It's like, di ba, like when you go to tech, may may capital, but ROI mo is 5 years, di ba? So many of us, sometimes we think, oh, can I make a living right now, di ba? But
no, not right now.
No,
so
but
there's a grind pa rin.
Yeah, may runway yan. Diba?
May grind period yan. I mean, I talked with some of yung mga creators na yun. So they started out like House on Fire, like 5,000 followers in a single week. Tapos tinanong ko, how many followers do you have right now? 500,000 followers. So yun, tapos can you earn from that? O nakaka-earn naman daw kasi like you said, yung 1,000 followers, meron silang followers na would be willing to buy their merch. They don't really earn that much sa Facebook. Pero once they release merch, yun.
Exactly. Diba? So parang down the line, and now you have crowdsourcing, diba? You can crowdsource a book na parang, oh guys, before I release the print version, mag-pre-order na kayo, diba?
Yeah.
So
and they survive na. As in, it's a new thing. As in, pre-orders. As in, I want to release a book, 500,000 followers ko, who wants to buy it? Pre-order now. And then even before ma-print yung book, break even na siya. As in, wala nga siyang gagastusin.
No, exactly, 'di ba? Parang wala na. So parang nagbayad na yung pag-invest in building and leadership niya, 'di ba? And that's it nga. That's why for me it's really, but to build that, you need yung consistent release, but really
you need consistent.
Always be there and just you get to create a relationship with them long term, 'di ba? That's why like what you guys did sa Comic-Con, it's the same thing. It's the same business model in a way. When you take yung ginawa niyo na you built community, but instead of a comic, it's a community, it's an event, 'di ba? It's a convention. But ganun din, the people who go, like people like me who go, we take us, we go to the events, we do all those things. That's the same thing, 'di ba? And then you just follow that business model on a per comic basis. 'Di ba? Ganun din yun, 'di ba? Of course, the advantage they have over you guys, mas maraming expense kayo to set up. May expenses na kayo kaagad, di ba? The nice thing about comics is that now they can just draw it on an iPad Pro or on an iPad, upload it. Wala silang gastos. It's just effort cost, di ba? So,
yeah, yung first initial cost of buying your hardware, yun lang.
yeah.
Mahal din yun.
Mahal din yun, no? Lalo ko nung first time nakabili ako ng Cintiq, oh my God, parang wow, I've been dreaming for 10 years ngayon nakabili ng ano.
So, yeah, as in, marami talaga silang dapat isipin right now. As in, ang daming bagong bagay with comics na kailangan mong pag-aralan if you really want to earn from it. Pero yun pa rin yung, ano na yan yun pa rin yung pinaka-fundamental is you still have to grind. It doesn't come overnight.
No.
So parang yung nakikita ko nga mga nag-gripe na parang hindi sila napapansin kaagad, hindi sila. Tapos they would compare themselves to like yung somebody popular.
Yeah, that's dangerous.
Pero, diba? Yung, that somebody popular did not become popular overnight. Kasi they grinded for like how many years till they...
That's usually love when they're grinding and suddenly one output they did nag-click and then kaya but if it's not the first thing they release nag-click agad, I'm sure matagal yan, diba? So it's really a lot of, I think for me that's why strangely I've never really been into, maybe that's why I believe I know what has to be done but I don't have the discipline to actually do it. So I'm still working on being ganun consistent, but you know, that's why I like doing series also. Kasi, you know na, I was telling Arnold. That's why, honestly, that's why with Children Bathala, I was able to convince Arnold to make it, at least a series in a way. But before, it was
ang plan niya is to release the whole tome.
He goes up to me, he goes, Jamie, my next book, it's going to be 700 pages. 700 pages? Paano natin yan?
It's like yung, Lord of the Rings.
Lord of the Rings.
Tolkien presented to the publisher was one big book lang talaga. And it's sliced it to 3.
It was telling him na parang, I mean, we could do that, but you know, the nice thing if you do it like in a series then. In my experience there was that when you do it in a series, because people get to talk about the story in between issues, diba? And then you stay in the consciousness longer, diba? Because there's something new coming out all the time. The sad thing if you do a graphic novel, diba? I think Arnold's really, he's able to, all his past works, they stay in the mind because they're just amazingly fantastic, diba? But not everybody's an Arnold Aren.
I'm interviewing creators and I'm interviewing creators that started in 2015. And pag tinanong mo kung sino yung nag-start sa kanila, they go to MIBF and they discover Arnold Aren.
Diba?
And these are yung younger creators. Yung same thing that happened to me in 1999, 1998 happened to them in 2015 with the same book.
It's wild, diba? But you think about it, even Myth Class was a series in the beginning, diba? For issues yun, diba? You think about it. And I think the reason I like doing a series is that it's the idea that, the story is a work in progress, that you're in a way, because you have space between issues, you get feedback from the readers, then you can tweak it along the way. And the conversations you have, what's gonna happen next? Oh, ganyan, the suspense.
Yung con niyan is, diba, you give si Sir Arnold ng time, and more time would marami pa siyang maisisiksik. So instead of having 700 plus pages, you'd likely to end up like 1,500 pages.
That's why sabi 700. So now sabi, okay, now that you allow me to make it into a series, it's now 5 books. 200. Oh, the 1,000 plus pages. I'm not complaining. The more Arnold Aris content I get.
Actually, the more books. Everybody's a winner.
Naghahanap lang ako ng funding. I have to find. Oh my gosh, I have to print. Okay, sige. Kaya yan. But I think like now the fact na, what do you call this? People are, what's going to happen in the next book, diba? There's stuff that it keeps, that keeps it in the public consciousness in a way.
Yeah, and yung anticipation for the next book is like the best promotion ever.
Exactly. So I think for me, I think that's my through line tonight. Is it's a consistency, but the whole point of consistency because you want to always maintain a relationship with the readers, diba? With we're very lucky na sa comics na it's something that is relatively quick to produce, diba? Compared to even film or video.
A film, yeah.
Diba? It's not as fast as prose, but more accessible naman than prose, diba? At least, diba? That's our edge.
That's why a lot of film, diba, film makers gravitate then towards doing graphic novels because it's like the cheap version of yung
storyboard na eh, diba? Storyboard na eh, diba?
And they can present it to a producer faster. Or
may proof of concept na. Ganun, diba? May readership na to. Diba?
Tapos yan, look, may 500,000 followers din to.
Oh, exactly, diba? But you know, honestly, like now it's really great na parang ang daming ng formats, ang daming genres, you know, there's so many ways to go about it. We may think, but it's funny, we're thinking about, tayo sa print, ganyan, but then, yeah, you're saying na ang daming nabubuhay naman sa doing webtoons, ang daming or, diba, or even for me, like the fact that, yeah, sina Stephen, sina Harvey, diba, sina Linil Yu, I mean, they're making a living doing, I mean, that's part of our industry then, but it's still part of our
that's totally different, totally different part.
Pero inaano ko na sinasabi mo sila parang
parang di ba if they ask, can you earn money from making comics? Yeah.
You can, that way.
That way you could. And also, the other way, actually, since been talking to a lot of creators and self-publishers, apparently you can. I mean, like Ace.
But actually, it's a lot, it's a lot like, when you look at yung app market, yung gumagawa ng apps, when you research it, actually a lot of the people who make apps, they make money making apps for businesses, for other people. Those who do parang indie apps na my own app, ganyan. It's just the failure rate.
And mabibring up ulit yung aking term na unicorn.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
Yung talagang unique na individual sa kahit ano industry that earns from something that yung ginagawa lang niya. Somebody like Manix.
Ganun I think, tama sinabi mo kanina eh, yung unicorn nahanap mo lang eh, when you do the grind, di ba? Kasi, hindi lang...
But yeah, he did yung grind. And yung, it's just, perfect blend ng persistence at ng luck.
It's really luck.
Kasi pag hindi rin naman mag-click yung ginagrind mo, kahit gano'n mo.
What I know John was telling my students, sabi ko, I read this blog article talking about, a lot of success, diba? It's luck, diba? Pero this blog article was reading saying na, yung luck, actually, you can make luck eh. That's not something that you have. You make it eh. Parang, luck is, for example, sabi ko sa class ko eh, when there's a field na there's 100 parang holes sa field. Inside each hole is a wooden chest, tapos all those chests, 5 lang sa kanilang may gold sa loob, diba? So if you can go around and randomly, open certain chests, that's you don't know which one. That's diba? It's random siya, which whether it has a chest or not. That's like success. Now you really don't know. It's pretty random, diba? Na whether something will click or not, diba? There's so many factors at play. But luck is, for example, if someone decides na, of the 100, I'll just look sa isang sulok na to. I'll just look at these 15 here in this one sulok. Kasi nakakapagod or parang I don't have energy. I don't have enough time to go through the whole field. I'll just concentrate here na lang. Diba? And yeah, if they look here, maybe all 5 are in that place where he looks, if he's lucky, or maybe 1 is still there, or maybe wala. Most likely wala, diba? But somebody who decides, no, I look at the whole field, maski nakakapagod, maski nabahay na yung shovel ko, ginagamit ko yung daliri ko to dig. But by looking at all, at the same time, he may look at more of it, and maybe none will also still be there. But the chances of him seeing something
grows exponentially. Yeah.
Right. So sa atin, that's
same thing with comics, di ba? Parang if you don't do yung story mo and you don't like try to sell it, and you don't show it to anybody, how would you get luck?
Right. You create luck by you show to a lot of people, you try different genres, you meet many people, you network, di ba?
I mean, you become lucky by being there.
Exactly.
Diba? With your product, di ba? Parang kung you always just whine na, bakit si ano na naman yung pinopromote? Bakit si ano na naman yung bida dyan? O bakit si ano na naman yung ano dyan? Eh, they're the ones grinding and they're the ones na laging nakikita ng mga tao that they're doing. They're doing yung work of self-promoting, di ba? Are you doing that?
Exactly, di ba? That's why, in our industry, really, parang the failure rate is high, but it's like in any business, failure rate is always high. It's the failure is the prerequisite to success. It's not the exception, diba? You have to fail
Yeah,
many
and that's
times.
how you learn. That's how you learn.
And that's the fun part. Kaya, di ba, for me, being the artist side of it na, in my age now na nga, parang having gone through, Nautilus Comics gone through 2 iterations already. We did it to my uncle, and then after we stopped, there's time na, when Cass wasn't doing so well anymore, parang medyo nagplateau na siya. That's the time na we stopped. And there's before nga we did issue 12. Kaya medyo, there's a years and nag-gap siya. And then, afterwards we came back and I started doing private iris. So that was more, I was doing commission comics for companies, and I was able to make a living doing that. Like private iris was something I did for an insurance company that they were paying me, monthly to do that. So, and then Arnold pitched to me because we were working on that together. He said, "Oh, can you publish this for me?" So, parang nabuhay siya ulit. So I started a whole new company naman with that again. And as you go through, these waves of it, it's always a challenge to, parang for me to stay parang motivated to feel, you do the love. Sometimes parang feeling mo nawawala, diba? But you realize afterward, every so often, like now, parang it always comes back. I think when you step back and you think about, okay, there's all the failure, disappointment, the challenges, the money running out, diba? But you realize, hey, I still get to do it. I'm still writing comics. I would still consider it as doing my living because I still invest a lot of time of my day to figure out, contracts and distribution and paying people and, so it is part of my job, and I still sort of consider myself very lucky that it's still, it is still part of my job in my life. Yeah. And the challenge becomes sometimes like now, how do I, parang find time to also remember na, the creation part is also something that's very exciting then that parang energizes me. It's just when you go back to like finishing cast nga, it's one of those things na I think one of the reasons why also it takes so long is parang there's an emotional thing about it na parang nag-fail siya for a while and then you realize na should I try to bring it back, or there's some parang it's like kasi kind of like one of my parang ex-girlfriend mo na parang break na kayo, parang babalikan ko ba, parang parang maybe there's still something there. So it's still something na I still think about, and I maybe like, you can relate to this, John. Parang I think for us who are you're actually a better artist pa than me, so you can actually write and draw your own comics. Ako, I'm stuck just being a writer. At most I can color, pero the challenge for me, like with doing series, is always finding collaborators and not trying to fix schedules with other people. Then, especially when the people I work with now are people who can, like it's in Arnold, there's the Cars and Steve, who can create their own stuff, diba?
It's kind of hard actually. And I know I'm not that good of an artist. Then I'm more of a writer. Then I'm actually more of a production guy.
Exactly. So we have to sell our story.
And the back of your mind, you're asking someone else to like get a piece of a moment nung time nila that they could actually do to create their own, diba? And parang nakakahiya, parang diba, parang para sa mga naghihintay sa fans nila for yung parang kukunin ko ba yung oras nila para gawin yung stuff ko.
Right. I mean, I feel so lucky na ang daming professional. When I say professional, doesn't just mean na they do it for a living. Professional meaning na when you ask them to do something that's not their personal project, they will do it. They will.
Yeah, it's sobrang privilege actually yun. Every time I think about it na this guy agreed to collaborate with me on this project, parang kasi nakaka-humble yun.
Yeah, exactly.
Especially that yung guy na yun can actually do better comics than
right. So parang professional, I have to make it really good kasi, di ba? Parang nagtiwala siya sa akin na, di ba? Sige, do something that's worth, di ba? It should be worth my time, my drawing. I'm giving
and you've worked with one of my friends, si Jomar.
Exactly, si Jomar, di ba? I've worked with him in several projects, and it's funny, si Jomar, I only met him once in person. Di ba? Hindi siya lumalabas ng bahay.
No, he doesn't go out.
I've only met him once, but we would always work via email or that. And he's one of those people also na parang, like when I tried to do cast as a webcomic then, so, nga, ako pa yung yung sumablay sa pag-submit, pag-release ng script siya. When I said, I need it by this day, he would submit talagang on time, ang ganda, ang detailed,
Jomar is one of those creators na parang pag kinuwento mo sa ibang tao, they wouldn't believe that he exists, especially since hindi siya nagpapakita.
I know, but alala ko when Danny was around pa, Danny used to tell me, si Jomar yung white whale ko na parang pumunta sa bahay niya para i-sign yung thing niya kasi parang hindi ko siya nakita sa mga events ganyan. So I remember
I actually tried to trick si Jomar once na mag-attend ng Comic-Con. Parang I asked him, actually the first one or the second one, I asked Jomar to go to bahay ng alumni because I have something to give him. Tapos nung napansin niya na nag-trickle in yung mga tao, ano to? Parang out. Tapos bigla paglingon ko wala na siya. Tapos tinext na niya ako na umuwi na siya.
Oh my gosh. Well, the first time the first issue of Cassie did with us, which is yung issue 7. Alam ko at the time, pinakita ko kay who did I show it? I think I pinakita ko kay Arnold din. Parang he said, wow, parang even si Arnold was so impressed by the art. And I was saying, oh my God, I'm so happy with, Stephen, Harvey, they're all fantastic artists there also. But, parang I think with the kind of slice of life na I did. That's right. You can see behind me that's Jomar's art. Yeah, dito, di ba? Kung Arnold, si Jomar's dito sa side. It's really, so I frame it on my wall. Like, that's how.
You have like 3 of the best artists.
I mean, if you ask me about Kapang, no matter what happens, that is the honor of my life that it allowed me to work with all these artists. Now I can say, oh my God, because of cast, I got to work with Steven Segovia, Harvey Tolibao, Jomar Soriano, Arnold Ari. I can die. I mean, but that's sod na ako. I mean, I that's all the honor I need.
Yeah, galing. Yun nga, and we go back ulit, nag-circle na tayo. Yung sa tanong ng fans mo, when would cast come back?
It's always hard to answer because I always say, it depends on sometimes who the artist will be. To be very frank, I always imagine that I wanted Arnold to be the one to finish the last issue. The last issue was supposed to be a two-parter. It was supposed to be like issue 12 now. We planned to finish in 12 issues. It was supposed to be a 60-page last issue. 30 pages, 2 stories, 30 pages was Jomar, 30 pages was Arnold. So at the time, in 2014, when I said, okay, after ilang years, let's finish this na, ganyan. So, but unfortunately, Arnold was still busy. So I said, okay, well, we'll do yours na lang later. So I decided to swap. So what came out as Cast 12 now, that's originally the story that Arnold was supposed to do and Jomar was supposed to do the one afterwards. But because of timing, ganyan, I asked, I'll just switch it na lang. So what came out as 12, that's basically half of the last issue. So the very last issue is supposed to be what Arnold was going to do. It's half written. I've written of the 30 pages, I've written 15 pages of it. It's kind of been plotted out, but there's some stuff hindi ko pa rin na break sa story. And the last 2 years was a lot of, there's time Arnold was free, I was not yet finished. Then when I was kind of ready, siya naman hindi ready. And we could never get it together, parang ganyan. And now that Arnold's not busy doing Chill Bathala, I kind of had to let go because I don't think he'll have time to do a full, again, like we were saying kanina, these are guys who can do their own, diba?
Yeah.
Their own stuff.
You know what I did? Kasi I write stuff just for yung opportunity na Jomar would hit me up na, may script ka. Sorry, meron. I was waiting for this.
Actually, yeah. But so one of these days, I think maybe we'll see whether this year or early next year. I'll just finish it na nga siguro. Para whether or not my artist ako, maybe it's good. I think good advice yan dyan. I'll probably do that na And I one of the things I think when I talked to Arnold, how do you work so fast? Like, I remember he did Martial Law Babies in 3 months, 4 months.
No, parang Arnold Are is a different kind of
Yeah,
animal.
iba na talaga siya.
And then, anybody I ask, ganun yung sabihin sa'yo, parang, di ko kaya yan.
Wala.
Ibang level yun.
Ibang level talaga. So I asked him before, how do you get stuff done so fast? Ganyan. And one of his secrets daw, so parang he goes, I never write parang chronological order. Parang whatever is the interesting thing I want to do. Yan ang una ko. I have the whole idea in my head. Parang unahin ko yung fun part para tuloy-tuloy yung ako I think I have to break that if I'm very logical na. The joke is when I write cast or even private eyes, I write in Excel first. I plot things out parang per scene. Then I break it, and then when I broken it, kasi if you look at the way I write, even like in cast, like in 10, I make sure this scene plays off here, this is ganyan. Ganun yung ako mag-isip mag-plot. I'm not good at parang just as it goes along, ganyan. I like writing stuff na, kasi I'm a big fan of Alan Moore, so I like the fact that it's a big open tapestry, ganyan. So even if it's slice of life, di ba, parang this dialogue is play off later on, this is foreshadow this, and this will have to ganyan. So until ma-figure out ko yan,
everything is planned.
Yeah. When I talked to Carl Vergara before, parang we would write similarly. So minsan we get stuck. So hindi pa namin na breaking story. With Arnold, there's no such thing as, di ko na break. So, okay lang, do something else. I'll do later part, I'll figure that out later.
I've worked with similar na artists na ganyan. Yung parang, they write in scenes, and they don't write na talagang yung technical way na kailangan. They write in scenes, as they write by visuals. I think si Ilog nga, when I met him, hindi siya nagsusulat ng script and he stopped doing thumbnails.
So maybe that's what I should do. Baka that's something I should try to figure out. Parang to break nga the writer's block in a way. We're in a visual medium nga naman, diba? They always say I should maybe also, maybe something I should try that na siguro. Parang go visual. Again, maybe ako curse ko personally because someone's very logical. So I'm the business guy sa page ng Arnold, diba? He's the art. I have to break in my head na medyo magbitaw ka ng konti, have more fun.
Actually, dapat as in balance talaga yan. You need to be a business guy then and an artist if you're doing this sort of thing.
I know. It's hard because it's such a challenge na, diba, when you're faced, I'm sure you know this, that when you're faced with all the expenses, the business, ganyan, diba, it's hard to parang, how can I let go and just do the creative side also, diba?
Yeah.
Parang that's
like, yeah, this always comes up then, yung parang, sometimes kasi, diba, as a self-publisher, you do everything na tapos kumakain talaga sa creative time mo. Diba? So yung pagbenta ng book na nagawa mo, kahit gustong-gusto mo nang gawin yung next part, pero you still have inventory to get rid of. So unahin mo yun una, syempre.
So I'm always thinking na parang, okay, if I do this secret, parang mabibenta, parang is it marketable? Yeah. Mayroon na akong ganyan, parang may basura na ganyan na parang, is it, anong ganyan? What's the kind of audience will this be? Will this offend the school if I do it? As in, we had when I was doing private eyes, we had this, we were doing school tours, and then this teacher comes up to me and says, looks at the comic, and sabi niya, I don't like this comic. Parang, it's not good for children. Ha? Bakit? You're promoting darkness. Huh? Children's book, bakit promoting darkness? Alam mo kung satanic, whatever, or evil. It's very, kasi look at your colors, it's all mga dark blues. So, kulay, yan yung promoting darkness. Masama na pala yun. So, like, oh my gosh, pati yung pag-iisipan ko pa, yung color palette ko, sa eskwela. And, when we were doing sa private eyes, that was, we had clients who were publishing it for us. I heard when you do toys for kids, oh my gosh, the restrictions, ibang klase, like one issue is called Club Wars. Okay? Just because we had different clubs na mag-aaway ganyan. There was my schools, ayaw ipabenta yung issue nyo because I have the word wars. That's promoting aggression. Oh my God, yun lang. Pero the fact that the word war was in the title, bawal, you can't sell that in the school. So, we'd have mga you have this thing, we had a FGD for the first issue, tapos yung comics ng bata na yung parang nakikitaan ko kasi yung parang worm's eye view yung isang scene, parang nakikitaan ko yung shorts, so like the client says, pakihabaan yung shorts niya kasi ano siya ng mga bata, ganyan, like, oh my God. So, ganun pala. Oh my gosh,
Well, yeah, that's the things that you need to think about if you're gonna do an all ages book. Parang imagine na lang yung di ba I used to do school tours then with Lyndon.
Yeah.
And imagine how that is with yung nuns, especially with yung book ni Lyndon. What is yung title ng book ni Lyndon?
Wait.
I think that's why, di ba, after nun, iba-iba na yung title ng book niya. Like, Berkada, naging Fantakada.
Yeah, but yun nga, parang I think for us who do the whole, we see the whole picture, di ba? Parang it's sometimes hard to separate it from, I remember say Arnold nga, he should share with me na parang that's the part he did not like, na parang when he first did the book, the publisher will tell you have to change the scene because that won't sell, or this won't be acceptable in this books or this school, and ganyan, di ba? And I remember he used to tell me, Jamie, I used to work in advertising. I left advertising. I didn't like that, na being told what my art should be, di ba?
Yeah. But yeah, yung advertising is not really, it's some sort of art.
Yeah,
it's not yung art that you could actually call your own.
Exactly.
So you just have to have a mindset na you have to follow what they want you to do, and sometimes insert na lang ng stuff na you want that they wouldn't notice. Di ba? Yun na lang yung magagawa mo dun eh.
Right. That's what, for me, like yung private eyes, that was a challenge, but that was a client job, and the insurance company had to insert like the savings product into it, and had to set in school. So there were communication objectives, profit objectives, but at the same time, I wanted to insert certain things, like I wanted the character to be a girl, and they didn't want that at first, so I had to defend that pa, and then certain themes ipapasok ko, then I had to argue with it.
Yeah,
it was tough. Even Arnold, the first 2 issues, had a hard time because they said, "Oh, you need product placement." So nainis, but oh my God, why do we have to put Growy in the panel? Because nag-diet ganyan, okay. But it's a tough, but again, that's what it was. And when I was doing private hires, that was my at that time when I was doing private hires, that was I was doing comics for a living because that was my biggest source of income at the time. What do you call this? Yeah, that was my day job for those mga 3-4 years. Diba? So, but that's the kind of compromise you kind of have to do, and I'm sure you will see Ace, diba, when he creates it, there's certain compromises also, maybe not the client, but to the audience. So understanding that, like it's not just me doing what I want, but what does my audience need? What responds to them? So I will format it that way. I will write, diba, cater it to these needs, diba? There's, nga, parang feeling ko sa community natin, we need more people like that. Diba? People like Ace, diba, who know how to balance the practical. Diba? Even you, I think you to a great extent are also someone like that. We need more people like you.
No, I'm not somebody like that. I am so far away from being a person like. Kasi if I was left to my own devices, baka sobrang wild nung Comic Con.
But in the end,
it's a good thing na it's a committee kasi going to.
Ikaw yung wild dreamer guy.
Parang, let's do this. Sige, ikaw gumawa. Sige, wag na lang.
But maybe baka yan yung dynamic na kailangan natin sa community. Di ba? You need the dreamers who go wild and the people na kami yung ground, di ba? I think kami ni Arnold, I think that's our relationship, our dynamic. He's the one na I'll do his wild idea ganyan. Siya ako yung taga-ground, but I don't have the raw talent that he does to do,
Yeah. I only wish na I have raw talent.
We all do.
All I have is yung wild lang.
Yeah, but I think that kind of spot. That's also a talent, because I don't have that sometimes. I don't have that parang guts to do.
Maybe when I was younger, ganun. Pero parang right now, parang ganun na rin ako eh. Parang, do we really have yung energy to do that?
Diba? Yun na nga eh. Ay.
Parang, Anim lang tayo sinong gagawa niyan. So, wag na lang. Let's let the other event do it. Yeah, sige. Tapos support na lang natin sila.
Ang tawag niyan, that's cognitive distribution. Kaya ang community tayo para...
Okay, ang community.
Ay.
I'm growing old.
I know. Pero nga, parang wala pa sa laman. Hindi ko na nakikita yung computer screen.
So, hindi. I just, parang naka-denial pa ako that I need glasses.
I got it. This year lang. I needed reading glasses the last 2 years, but this, ngayon ko na pa, oh my God, I really cannot read na talaga sa progressives. And I think it's karma kasi dati sinasabi sa akin sa cast, bakit ang liit itong font nyo? No, font 10, IPCO. Sabi, ang liit niya. Sabi ko, hindi. Kasi, para kumasya yung
diet naman this is like 6 points, so this is just fine.
Parang sa calling card yan. You can read calling cards. Legible pa yan. Diba? Now it's like, oh my gosh, I can't even read my own comics anymore.
Yeah, medyo na rin sa akin. Pero
ngayon ako nagpapasalamat na may digital. I can zoom. Ayan, kaya pa yung zoom.
So yan, final advice for people who want to enter this crazy world of comics creation.
Yeah, like I said earlier, many times. For one, it's the consistency really. And when I say the consistency, just come up with ship the work. Come out with work on a regular basis, whether you have an audience or not. That everything else, the skill, the talent, the inspiration, will all come from the determination. And I think like what I said, but sometimes I have to do it because of money, whatever pushes you to be consistent, just do it. The advice I always give everybody at the end of when I do comic workshops is, I've only ever seen, for those who people like us who make a living doing comics, who do comics as a job, who have business doing comics, parang everyone who's, I think, managed to do that, they were, let me flip that, sorry. Those who wanted to do what we do, but were not able to, it's usually one of two things. Either tamad sila or takot. Diba? They're either takot na, I don't, parang pangit to, ayoko makita, or baka no one will read it, or baka hindi kumita, I might lose money, or diba, if I might feel bad, diba? It's fear. And of course, tamad na parang, they're so talented, but then, sige, I don't feel the inspiration, or parang, walang ano yan. Next ano na lang mag-.
The old saying, na pag gusto mo talaga, may paraan yan.
Exactly.
Pero pag ayaw mo, ang dami mong dahilan.
Exactly. It's really just that, I mean, no amount of because there are many we've seen many very talented people. I've seen many talented people, because they can't make it because of that. Na parang, and I've seen people who were not that great, but because they were brave and bold, they became great later on, just from sheer practice and all that. Diba?
Yeah.
And even they're the ones who actually get to have an audience, because they're always there.
Because they did the grind. They put in the time. Yun lang talaga yun eh. Do the work. Diba? Do the work.
It's a trust them. We want to have an audience. We have to parang give have those years trust us that we will ship. I mean, that's one of my biggest guilt nga, na hindi ko natapos to, diba? So, for me, that's still one of my bucket list things na, that the fact that I still have people, like you said, there's people still asking about it.
There's still people asking about cast. And yung cast na ending dapat may malaking gatefold ni Stephen, malaking gatefold ni Harvey, ni Rex, ni Jomar.
Yeah, that's why yung 12 nga, supposedly that's why I got them all to do guest scene. So they all had a cover. They all have. I had Harvey, Stephen come back to do a scene. I was hoping that would be the the last, but I'll just tell you, John, because of that, for sure, I don't know when, but I will definitely finish it for sure. Promise ko yan. I'm saying it on the record na yan. Ha?
Yeah, and I don't edit my videos, so yeah, on the record.
On the record talaga yan. It's out there.
So yun, sir. Thank you very much for your time.
Thanks so
Thank
much.
you very
It was a lot of fun. Thanks so much.
I hope maraming natutunan yung mga viewers natin with yung our kwentuhan. And for our viewers, thank you then for watching this video. Please do leave a like, share this to your friends, subscribe to the channel kung gusto nyong mapatuloy makinig with our kwentuhan. If ayaw nyo naman mag-subscribe, could always just tune in at 4 p.m. I drop a new kwentuhan every day. So thank you guys and see you at the next video.